collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Cliffjumper versus Tarantulas, Squeezeplay, and Tarn 4-pack from the Transformers Legacy United line from Hasbro. Now sometimes they give these 4-packs names, some kind of like battle name, but as far as I can tell, this one doesn't have one. It's just Cliffjumper versus these 3 Decepticons. And for whatever reason, it seems like they like to do 1 Autobot and 4 Decepticons in these gift packs. I guess technically Tarantulas is a Predacon, but you get what I'm saying here. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know why. Very stacked. You'd think you do 2 versus 2, maybe something like that. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm very excited for Squeezeplay. If you guys know me at all, I'm a huge Master Force fan. Squeezeplay was one of the main characters in Master Force, so that's awesome. I think the Cliffjumper looks pretty good as well. The Tarantulas and the Tarn, I mean, they might be okay. We'll check them out, but can't say I'm overly excited about them. If you're looking for this one, it is a Target exclusive. I think small quantity was available on Hasbro Pulse as well. But honestly, you probably won't have any difficulty finding it at your local Target or on their website. I think as of this recording, Transformers are 15% off at Target. So if you can find it in store or online, it will be a good time to pick it up and get 15% off. But the other thing is, that's a plastic window. The plastic windows are back. Hooray! So there we go. Kind of exciting. Nice artwork here on the front. I think the robots here look pretty good. Flipping around to the top of the box, you can see just kind of little silhouettes there, or little close-ups of the 4 robots that are included. Down here on the bottom, not really anything exciting going on, except apparently Tarn's body continues around down there to the bottom. Over on here, we just have the standard half of the Legacy United mural, and then you get the other half over here. So if you wanted to cut the 2 ends off and put them together, you'd have the full mural here. Spinning it around to the back, just get some product shots of the robot modes and the vehicle modes for all 4. And, true to form, Squeezeplay does have a Headmaster partner, which is fantastic. I believe he is a heavy retool of Mindwipe, so that should be interesting. The rest should be pretty similar to what we've seen before with their original versions, but I'm going to go ahead and get all 4 of these out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. Up first, we will start with Prime Universe Cliffjumper, and I think this is a really successful use of this mold. Now, of course, this was used for Chase from the Rescue Bots universe, but I think it works really well here for Cliffjumper. I still wish there was something you could do with these pieces, like maybe you could have a little rotator here so that you could kind of rotate them so that they're more vertical than horizontal, because it just kind of get in the way of the arm articulation, and that was a problem I had with Chase as well. But you do have the little Autobot symbol here on the wings, mostly shows up in vehicle mode. I really do wish he had an Autobot symbol here on the chest. I just think that would look pretty good. But I think they did a really nice job with the head sculpt. It's simplistic, but it works. The blue for the eyes looks really good. The dark gray for the face looks nice. The horns are fantastic. Really nice job there. I think the feet look pretty good. You can see the little horn for the front of his car mode hanging out down there around the ankles. But yeah, it's a good use of this mold. And just real quick, here is Chase so that we can do a side-by-side comparison. So you can see what I'm talking about. Having that Autobot symbol there on the chest, I think really helps. Otherwise, I don't think they did too much except for putting the horn down here. Otherwise, I think everything is a complete reuse. I don't think there's any other remolding except for the head. And then obviously the light bar is not part of it, so I guess they remolded that back section ever so slightly. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same. They didn't really have to do too much. Now, he does come with the weird capture claw pieces, just like Chase has over here, as well as these 2 pieces here on the sides of the arms. I don't think they really work for Cliffjumper. They're all molded in this kind of smoky, translucent gray plastic. I don't know. I don't really want them on the side of the arms or the vehicle mode for Cliffjumper. It just doesn't really make sense. Of course, it's part of the, sprue mold, so they come along. You also get the capture claw pieces also done in this gray. Again, they just don't really do anything for me. I don't really need Cliffjumper to have a capture claw, but they are included. If anything, I was thinking maybe I would just utilize this piece just to give him, have his arm transform into a blaster, because that's kind of what they did back in Prime. So at least that way he could have some kind of weapon, but it doesn't look that great, honestly. I wish that they would have just, found some other kind of gun, even if it's a reuse from somebody else, that they could have just given him, even if you can't store it in the vehicle mode, just to give him some kind of generic blaster. I just think would have worked better, but I get it. But again, I think they did a pretty good job. I think this mold works well for Prime Universe Cliffjumper. We'll get into articulation real quick. It's going to be exactly the same as Chase, but just in case you're not familiar, the head can swivel from side to side. You can look back ever so slightly and look down ever so slightly. Side to side tilt, not really present. You have the hinge there for the shoulder, as well as a rotation. You have a bicep swivel. You have 90 degrees there in the elbow. Now, for whatever reason, the hands can kind of fold forward. You don't really need that for anything. The transformation doesn't really utilize it, but you absolutely can do it. I don't really know why, but it is there. You have a waist swivel, really nice waist swivel there. Kick really far forward. I like that quite a bit. Kick decently far backwards, but you start to hit into this little section here. Kick pretty far out to the side, so pretty good range of motion in the hips. Thigh swivel there. You have 90 degrees in the knee. And you do have some ankle tilt. The way this guy is made, it almost seems like it ankle tilts way more to the other side because of the transformation, but you do get a little bit of tilt in the direction you would want it, so he does get some good standing poses. Maybe not as much as other characters, but enough that I feel like you get what you need, and I think he looks good. The only thing I would really change, I'd put an Autobot symbol on the chest. I don't know if Cliffjumper had one. I kind of want to say he didn't, and that might be ultimately why they didn't do it. But personally, I just like an Autobot symbol on the chest, just for me personally. But if they're going for show accuracy, then yeah, he probably didn't have one, so I understand that. But I think they did a pretty good job. Obviously, this is kind of that smoky, dark plastic as well, and they had to paint that red. And I feel like they did a pretty good job of matching it to the actual red plastic, so I'm pretty impressed with that. I think that came out pretty good. All in all, I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. I wish they would have given him some other accessories instead of just including these, but other than that, pretty good. We'll go ahead, we'll get into his transformation here. So we are going to start off by opening this little panel here on the front of the chest, and then you will spin the head 180 degrees, and that will give this enough clearance to come around the head, and then pop up here, and then you can go ahead and fold this panel back down, like so. We are going to come here to the legs, and this thing on the side is going to open up so that you can drop this all the way down, and then you're going to open this up even further, like that, and then straighten out the leg, and then you're going to kind of turn it in like so, kind of straighten out the knee there. So coming around to the other side again, we're going to open this up. This is going to flip around, and it does almost feel like there's some resistance there, but it is meant to open up, but it's kind of tight on mine. Every time I do it, I'm like, wait, am I doing this wrong? And then I'm like, no, that's correct. So fold this like this. You're going to come to the heels down here and just fold them all the way up. Then you're going to take this section and rotate this all the way around, and you can see that there is a little tab slot right there for this little tab right here. So that's just going to go around and tab in like so, and then you can drop this part down to finish out the front of the car mode. So bring this around, tab that in, flip that down, and then pop the heel all the way in as far as it will go. These two tabs here will allow the legs to tab together, and then you can tab the two front sections of the car together as well. So now you can see you have that full horn there on the front. I think that's a really nice inclusion. I loved that about Cliffjumper's vehicle mode back in Prime. At this point, you're going to spin this around at the waist, and this section here of the, I guess, windshield hood section of the car is going to slide underneath the legs. So you'll kind of do something like that. There we go. At this point, you will rotate the arms so that you can utilize this joint inside here to rock this section backwards, and then straighten out the arm, and then this will come back and click in here, and then you'll have to pop this tab underneath this section here, and this will all kind of find out where it's supposed to go, and then you can drop this section down to fill in the little gap, and then just kind of play with it till everything kind of snaps into place. So we're going to repeat that again over here by just rotating this around and dropping this back and lining this up. Pop this in here. There we go. And then just drop this piece down. And it can be a little finicky sometimes, just kind of, you know, getting panels to pass each other and getting everything to click into place and line up. But what you are left with is a pretty good looking vehicle mode. I think this definitely works for Prime Universe Cliffjumper. Like I said, he does have the little horns there. I think the whole front grille here looks pretty great, really nicely painted. You have those little thrusters down here, which I think work. I don't think he had them back in the original show, but I think that's fine. Then you have a little bit of paint detailing back here. And if you would like to connect these pieces, you know, they can sit here if you would like, or they can connect onto the side here. Whatever you want to do. You have another piece over here on the side. That didn't line up. There we go. Pop it like this. So you have a few options. You even have one all the way back here. It'll peg into any one of those. But again, I don't really like these for him, so I'm probably just going to toss them in a bin and not look at them again. I do think it's funny, too, that this little section here looks like it's the shape of an Autobot symbol. Now, that is on the back, so it wouldn't really make sense to put one there, because then it would just be upside down on his back. But it's just, like, so perfectly shaped for an Autobot symbol to go right there. Just kind of funny. But yeah, it's a good-looking vehicle mode. You do have that tiny little Autobot symbol there on each side. But I like it. I think this really works. I think this mold works well for Prime Universe Cliffjumper, and I'm glad they gave it to us. Up next, we have Tarantulas, done in this kind of orange and green color scheme. So apparently this is a throwback to the very, very early production, like, commercials before the toy was officially released, and Tarantulas was kind of this translucent orange color, and then eventually his colors got changed before the final release. But this is kind of a throwback slash homage to that, which is kind of neat, but also they just wanted to reuse this mold again, and that's what they came up with. So we have a very, very orange Tarantulas here with a little bit of gold here on the back. It would have been neat if they had done some of this out of actual translucent plastic, but I understand that would probably make it kind of brittle, especially with how thin this back shell piece is, so I understand. He still comes with all of Tarantula's accessories. You can see he's got the little buzzsaw here, as well as the kind of like boomerang hook launcher, whatever we want to call this thing. Now he is using this new head sculpt that is reminiscent of the original toy's alternate head. So again, with the like first run of Beast Wars, they had kind of a robot head as well as a more bestial head, and that's something that they eventually kind of got rid of as the line went on. But for like the character models for the TV show, they kind of just picked whatever head they liked better. Some used the more robotic head, some used the bestial head, and Tarantulas, they definitely used the more bestial head. This one, they've gone back to that original robot head. It's kind of a cool design. I like the colors. I think the metallic purple works really well. He's got the blue eyes, a little bit of silver, purple faceplate there with an overall green head. So it's definitely a good color scheme. A lot of nice paint going on there. You have the eyes here for the spider head, even though that will not be utilized for the actual spider head in the beast mode. It's just like a fake one they do here for the waist. Little Predacon symbol there on the thigh with a little bit more gold. Otherwise, it's just mostly different colored plastic. Not really a ton of paint applications here. Most of the different colors are achieved with different colored plastic. But it is the Tarantulas mold you know and love. So we'll go through it pretty quickly. Head can go from side to side. Can tilt back and forth ever so slightly. Can tilt side to side very minorly. You have a swivel as well as a hinge here in the shoulder. This piece can move around, so there's kind of a swivel here for this kind of like large leg piece. Each of the legs is on a small ball joint, and then you have another swivel down here on the other side, like where the gray. So basically, both places where the gray meets the green, there's a swivel, and then there's like a 90-degree bend in the elbow there for the hand, and that is one solid piece, so there's no movement there. A little bit more gold paint. I'm going to move the accessories out just so we can see everything there. Have a waist swivel right there. Have a pretty nice kick forward for the leg. Start to hit into the back kind of bubble area for the kick backwards, but you get decent amount. Kick out to the side, no problem. Got a thigh swivel there. Double jointed knees, which is utilized mostly for transformation, but of course can be utilized in robot mode. Then you have a front to back tilt, again really for transformation, but can be used in robot mode, as well as some really sick ankle tilt there. Pretty much 90 degrees for the ankle tilt. So it's a pretty good mold. I like the new head. I think that's kind of neat. Color scheme is, you know, a little bit of a throwback, but It's definitely very different from the Tarantulas we got. I mean, the toy that we got back in the day was kind of a dark brown, and then on the show, he was pretty much purple. So his color scheme's kind of all over the map, but I like the purple from the show, and I'm glad that's the version of the first toy that we got. It makes this one even more in contrast, but if you put the two together, it's like full-on Halloween colors, which, you know, spiders, makes sense. I think it's all in keeping with the theme, so works out pretty well. But it's a good figure. It was a good figure when it first came out. This is a good figure. I like the new head sculpt. Articulation's pretty good. Accessories are nice. And, yeah, not too much to complain about. Let's go ahead and get into his transformation. So we are going to start off with kind of kicking the legs a little forward just so that we have a little bit of room to kind of unhook this. This is kind of pegged into this top section here. So you can see that it was tabbed in there. You want to kind of bring this down as far as you can. You can see the actual spider head here underneath, and we need to, I have a little bit of trouble sometimes getting these past each other, but you can see eventually it will happen, and then this will come up and cover the robot head like so. At this point, you're going to rotate this at the abdomen. So I should have pointed out there is a swivel down here, but there's another swivel up here. Now you can't really utilize this one when this is up here and pegged in, because this piece is connected to this, and then when it's pegged in, it makes it so you can't spin here, but you can spin this one down here. So he does kind of have two, but in robot mode, you can only utilize the one. In any case, spinning this around, if I can get this to do so, come along. Oh yeah, it helps if you move the arms out of the way. Should have specified that. But there we go. So this is now around like so. You can start to move these arms out of the way. There we go. Spin these up. We'll come back to them in a moment. You're going to bring this down, and you can see that large tab still sticking out. That's going to peg in right there. Now, it looks like I may not be getting this pegged in all the way, but it really doesn't feel like it wants to go any further, and I've been trying to line it up and get it to go, but I don't know. It doesn't, I feel like this is good enough. I've transformed it like this, but it does feel like it should. It's just really difficult. The problem is that this keeps wanting to spin as I try to move this, and that makes the hole not line up as well. See, I feel like it's resting just above the hole, and it should be coming down and clicking into place. There we go. Okay, got it in that time. So it can be a little difficult, quite honestly, but eventually you can get that to click in place. Now we come to the legs. So we are going to fold these forward. I showed off that front ankle piece a little earlier. You're going to utilize the double jointed knees. Now you kind of have to bring this in, and that will click into place, which is good. Let me get this one to click in. You can see there's a little tab right there. There we go. Okay, but when you actually go to put these in, you kind of have to put the foot back down, like kind of swivel this part in first, and then push this in for it to fit in there, because otherwise it's just a little too tight. So if you do it like that, and then kind of collapse it in, you shouldn't have an issue. And at this point, you can take this, and you can see that there's like a connection spot right there. You can drop this in, and then that's storage for that. So most of the spiders coming along at this point. This is going to come in here, and you can see this little spot right here is going to tab in right there, as well as this little tab here on the end is going to slot in right here. So this is going to kind of come in, that will peg in there, and then this, if I zoom in here so you can actually see what I'm doing, this will kind of push in like that. And then with those two together, you'll take this last piece and just rotate this. I guess I'll have to rotate it around like that. You want these to be facing like this. So we're going to do that again over here. Bring this in, and I guess I should rotate this now while I can. Bring this in, peg that in, and pop that in there. And then at that point, just position your spider legs around however you like. And we have Tarantulas in his very orange spider mode. But it's good. Like I said, it was a good mold then. It's a good mold now. I think the spider is very convincing. Well, let me don't... not convincing like I think it's a real spider, but I think they did a good job with the spider mode. It looks very cohesive. One thing I didn't really like about the Black Arachnia mold, you had to tuck too much stuff underneath, like the hands, the feet, everything was in that kind of large bulbous back that a Black Widow spider has. So I think it was a smart move to actually utilize the hands here for the front pincers, something I wanted the Black Arachnia mold to do that it didn't do, and that was something I really liked about the Tarantulas mold. And yeah, it's just a solid mold. I mean, it fits together very nicely. I think everything tucks up very nicely, but it doesn't look too cluttered, and it's going to hold together very well. No problems there. It's a good-looking spider mold. Yeah, all in all, I think this was the superior of the two. And happy to get it here in a new color scheme with a crazy throwback to a first appearance in a toy commercial that, you know, that toy never really came out. There might be a few of them floating around, but that was not the main release. So definitely a deep cut here, but kind of cool. Next up, we have my personal favorite figure from this 4-pack, and that is Decepticon Junior Headmaster's Squeezeplay. I think they did such a good job with this figure. It is a heavy retool / repaint of Mindwipe back from Titan's Return, but they really did a nice job with this. I mean, he looks like he leaped right out of the cartoon. Transformers Master Force, which is my absolute favorite piece of Transformers fiction, was a series that was exclusive to Japan back between when G1 ended here and Beast Wars started. They did a couple series over there, if you're not familiar. The Headmasters, Super God Master Force, Victory, and Zone, although Zone was kind of like a one-shot. But in any case, Squeezeplay, I believe he was called Cancer there, was a Decepticon Junior Headmaster part of the team, and they did such a good job with this figure. I'm so happy with it. The little weapon that he comes with is actually a reference to Super God Master Force. It is the Decepticon little partner that he had named Browning, which was kind of like, he had a similar design to Megatron in terms of how he transformed and what he looked like in robot mode, but he was kind of like a little partner friend that was given to the Headmaster, and, you know, he kind of would transform into a gun, human-sized gun. They've decided to upscale it here and given it to Squeezeplay here as his weapon, but I absolutely love the Master Force reference. That's so well done. The head actually looks fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and pop this off. So if we zoom in here, the head sculpt looks amazing. The red eyes, the silver face, all of that's perfect. And if we transform him here, this is exactly what the Junior Headmaster's suit of armor looked like. So they have captured that here. So the designers have definitely seen Master Force, and they have put in a ton of references here. So this figure really excites me. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm very happy with it. The only thing I'm not sure about, I assume that this was gray plastic because it's kind of similar in color to this, but it almost looks like it could have been white that yellowed, because it's not quite the same color gray. I mean, I guess it's close enough, but I don't know. This color gray is kind of an interesting one that they've chosen here, but I don't care. I'm very happy with this. I think the Headmaster here looks fantastic. I'm very happy. I don't know if they'll do horrible. I hope one day they will, so that way we can finally finish out the trio. Let me get this back in here. Sometimes the connection can be kind of tight. I don't know why this isn't... Okay, I didn't have it lined up properly. There we go. But yeah, he looks fantastic. Let me bring in Fangry here from a previous Target exclusive 4-pack. Now, unfortunately, Fangry didn't come with any kind of blaster. That was another thing that I had kind of an issue with. I wish he had some kind of blaster. But I think it's funny. So for him, they did the speed, strength, intellect. They painted them here, but didn't put the words. And then neither of them actually have the bars. If you look at this, the bars are actually molded in there, but they did not paint them, which I thought was interesting. But I love seeing these two together. I've always had a problem with Fangry's knees. They're just not very strong, unfortunately. Not an issue here. This guy is solid. If I were to do that over here, he will just immediately fall over, which is kind of a shame. I think the problem was that this mold, they used that old double cross, and it was just, it's beat. That mold just has so much fatigue from it, unfortunately. But we still have Fangry, we still have Squeezeplay here. Maybe we'll get Horrible one day. We did get Minerva. Now, Minerva is not a headmaster, so I feel like that one doesn't count. But again, I guess the guys making these just love Decepticons more than Autobots because, you know, we have all of our Decepticon Target Masters, all of our Decepticon Junior Target Masters. We're almost finished with the Junior Headmasters here. I don't think we really have any of the Autobot Junior Headmasters, with the exception of Minerva, but she's not a Headmaster, so again, doesn't really count, but I would love Siren and Hosehead. Hosehead's such a ridiculous name. But again, when we haven't finished the Autobot Target Masters, I know it's a random segue, but I know Decepticons are cool, but I want them to have their counterparts to battle. So please, finish the Autobot versions of the Target Masters and Junior Headmasters. That aside, let's get Fangry out of here so we can really take a look. As much as I was happy to get Fangry, I think this one's even better. They did such a good job with this. Like I said, no loose joints, which was a big deal. The molding is good. The head sculpt is fantastic. The little Browning reference. I mean, just everything about this guy is fantastic. Let's get into his let's get into his articulation first. Now, you know that there's the typical ball joint for Titan's Return, so you do get a little side to side, little front to back. Side to side is no issue. You have a nice ball joint here for the shoulder, so you can go all the way out to the side. Full rotation. If you want, there is a hinge here in the shoulder as well, which you can utilize. You have a bicep swivel, although it is a little tight on mine. Double jointed elbows, mostly for transformation, but again, gives nice articulation in robot mode. Nothing here in the wrist because of the way it folds into the forearm. You have a waist swivel. You have a pretty good kick out to the side there. Might even be able to go higher than that. Yeah, a little over that. Forward, back hits into this a little bit, but really not too bad. Thigh swivel, 90 degrees in the knee. Ankle tilt, pretty good, 45 degrees at least. So yeah, I'm happy with this. This piece here on the back doesn't really get in the way of anything. I think they did a pretty good job. The old toy used to just hang off the back, and I didn't really like the look of that. This one at least is a little tucked up and out of the way, so I appreciate that. And you really don't see it all that much from the front. I just think he came out great. I love his color scheme. I've always loved this character. I've loved this design. And they crushed it. I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't. I think they did such a good job with this. Let's go ahead and get into that transformation. So I've gone ahead and removed his two accessories. The next step, of course, is to go ahead and remove the head. It can be a little tight sometimes, but there we go. Got that out of there. We are now going to fold the hands back into the forearms, like so. Then you can see that there is a tab slot there and a tab there. We're going to utilize that double jointed elbow to peg that in. So do that again over here and kind of hang these out to the side. This is going to flip out like that. Then we are going to unhook this so that we have enough clearance to spin these all the way around. I don't really know what purpose these serve, but they're there. These were obviously meant for Mindwipe's wings back when this mold was here. Now it's just this kind of blue. It almost looks like it could be a gun, like it wants to come up and be like a shoulder cannon, but it can't go any higher. Now, the original toy does have posts like this on the back, but it's because they're the feet, but now the feet are the arms. So I guess they wanted to keep the same aesthetic in robot mode, even though it's not the same part of the body. Now, with this, you have a couple options. You can... I have to spin these around. That's my bad. You need to spin this around 180 and then peg this in. So that way the feet are facing the correct way. Technically, you could spin it without unhooking it from the forearm because it's not connecting to this part, but just easier to do it this way. So, you can keep the wide stance if you like that. You can utilize this to bring them in and make him a little bit taller. I kind of like to do like maybe a 45-degree angle because in the show, he was a little squat, but maybe not like keeping it a 90-degree angle squat, so it's up to you. But then we're going to bring these down. I like to rotate these so that the hollow part is facing down. You don't have to if you want to just bring it straight down. But I also feel like you get more articulation if you have the hinge oriented that way. So at this point, you're going to close up the feet to make the pincer claws. And then just kind of bring this in, utilizing the knee joint. And then you're going to rotate this up, and this is going to tab in. There's the tiniest little tab slot right there, and that is for this tiny little tab right there. So this is going to come up and just sit in there. I kind of wish the mouth could open and close. It can't, unfortunately. That would be neat. But here we go. Now, the original toy, you could have the claws like this instead of like this, but some compromises, I guess, need to be made. I've been kind of looking at it and seeing if there's a way I can... I guess I can kind of, but it's still going to be mostly horizontal. Unless I bring this... now still... So, I wish there was almost like another swivel that I could swivel the pincer claws around. But again, it's not that big a deal. Oh, and then we're going to take the tail shield piece and just peg that in here. If you want to peg in Browning on top, you can as well, whichever way you want him to face. So, the tail is a little lame. The way the original one worked, it pegged into the headmaster port, and that's how the tail just came out down that way. I'm fine with them doing it like this. It does look a little silly, but it's fine. And then, of course, you have the cockpit here, so that you can put the headmaster in there. What you do is kind of put him in a sitting position, and then he just slots in like so. And then you're good to go. So there you go. There is Squeezeplay's ridiculous monster form. He never really had a clear description of what this is supposed to be. I mean, Fangry is like loosely wolf-based. Horrible is the one that actually looks like an animal. It's a bull. And then Squeezeplay is like a generic sea monster type thing. It's not really based on any kind of actual animal, but it is very, very accurate to the original toy, and I'm so happy with this. It's ridiculous, but in all the best ways, and I love it. And then lastly, we have a Tarn repaint. Alright. Yeah, it's Tarn again. If you want to see him standing next to the original Tarn, here you go. He is, I guess, apparently the Cyberverse colors for Tarn. And it is a pretty decent change when you put them next to each other. You can see a much darker gray instead of the lighter gray. A lot more of this navy blue. The heads are painted differently. I don't know. I don't really need another Tarn, if I'm being honest. I mean, he does look good, but I understand a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this Tarn's really hard to get now. It's becoming crazy prices on the aftermarket. They're already re-releasing this. They're doing a refresh, and I think the next wave, he's just going to be a Voyager in the next wave. So they're already re-releasing this, and then in addition, they gave us this. And I don't know. It's not bad. I'm not super excited about it because I've, at this point, got 4 of this mold. I'm going to have 2 Bludgeons and 2 Tarns, and I don't think I needed that many of either of these characters, but he does come with Bludgeon's sword, done in this purple, which is kind of neat. You have the guns in this kind of translucent orange plastic and then painted black over top. Yeah, it's Tarn, you know, it's Tarn. Head can go on a ball joint side to side, look up and down a little bit. You have this hinge here in the shoulder as well as a rotation. Bicep swivel, 90 degrees there in the elbow. You do have the hands that can open, which is always a nice touch, as well as a wrist swivel, waist swivel, kick very far forward, very far back, very far out to the side. Really nice movement there. What the heck did that wasn't great. I think this piece just got stuck. I hope I didn't break it. No, I think it's just because of the way, like, that piece has to move around because of the way it, like, is part of the crotch plate, I guess. It has to move, so it's just moving along, and it just didn't quite move, but it's fine. I think that's going to be fine. Scared me for a second there. Thigh swivel, double jointed knees because of the way it transforms. Clip that back into place. Ankle tilt, front to back as well. So, I mean, it's a good toy, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing, you know, it's nicely articulated, well detailed, nice accessories, good paint applications. I've just seen it like 3 times by now. At least when they do things as different characters, you're like, oh, look, it's the Tarn mold, but it's Bludgeon. This time it's the Tarn mold, but it's just Tarn. It's just Tarn again. He's slightly different colors. Hooray. Now look, if you don't have the other one, this is a nice alternative. He does have the extra accessory. But if you don't have the other one, you could still buy that one when it comes out a little bit later on. I don't know. I just feel like this is too much double dipping for them. I just think it's too much double dipping. I mean, because we're getting the other Bludgeon in that Amazon pack, like, very soon as well. It's just too much Tarn in a short amount of time. Gosh darn it. Anyway, let's go ahead. We'll get into his transformation. So I've removed his accessories. We're going to start off coming around to the back, flipping these pieces down, unhooking this whole section from being pegged into the back, bringing it down and rotating it 180 degrees, and then just kind of leaving it down here to hang out temporarily. We are going to lift up this chest area just ever so slightly, so that will unhook from these 2 pieces on the side, which will allow these to kind of pull out to the side a little bit, which then you can start kind of rotating these back. And you want to get to about halfway. That way you can rotate the head in and also start to rotate this chest piece up to kind of become the cow catcher. And then once you have that done, you can rotate it the rest of the way. And then this should drop down, and there is a tiny little translucent peg right there, which is going to tab into this spot here on the butt. There we go. Now that's tabbed in and good to go. So that is the front of the tank mode. You're going to straighten out the legs here and clip them together. Next, you're going to take the arms here, rotate them around. This piece here on the forearm is going to rotate around like this. And then you have to bend this in. And this will... Hold on, am I doing this incorrectly? I think I am. I have to rotate this, and this bends this way. There we go. Okay. So this goes in and will tab in. There is a tab slot right there, which will tab in right there. So you bring this in and tab this against, and then you rotate the fist so that it is facing like that. Right, am I doing this but wrong again? I don't think I am. But why isn't this... Oh, right, because these will eventually bend like that. That's why it's not happening, because they won't stay there. Okay, then we're going to flip this little panel here on the side out like that, and then this will unhook. Come on, unhook. There we go. And then this is going to come around and finish out the tread here on the side. So we're going to do all of this again. We are going to spin this, rotate this around, rotate the fist like so, and then push this in. Come along. So this tabs in against the side of the leg there. Then we're going to flip this panel open and then flip this around like so and push that all together. Push the 2 feet up like so, and then you're going to utilize that double jointed knees that I talked about. You kind of have to unhook these like this, but make sure that they stay pegged together, which they did not. There we go. And then there are 2 tabs right here and here that are going to tab into the bottom of the feet. So bring this down. There we go. Slide that back. Also, there's like little tabs here that are going to go under the feet as well. So pop that in there. That goes there. That goes there. Make sure that's all in. And then you're going to just take this and drop it right on top. You're going to rotate this around. And then these two big tabs right here are going to tab in right there and there. And there you have it. There is your Tarn in tank mode. Now, I guess with this, you can really just kind of do whatever you want. If you want to put it here, that might be the best spot for it. Otherwise, you could try to tab it in on one of these on the side or up top here, or even over here on the side. Whatever you prefer, but you can put the swords somewhere. But yeah, there is your Tarn in tank mode. And I didn't really talk about it, but if you're familiar with Tarn, with this, you can move these around. You can take these apart. You can peg these together to make like a super large cannon. You can have Tarn dual wield these. You know, you have a lot of options with these. That hasn't changed. But when you have them here in the tank mode, peg this back on. Unfortunately, you don't get a ton of movement. You get a little bit with the side to side, but you can't really go up because they kind of hit into the back of the legs there. So you can go up and down a little bit, but you can do side to side pretty decently as far as being like a tank turret. So it's a decent little tank mode. Not too bad. Honestly, it's a pretty solid 4-pack. Squeezeplay, without a doubt, has to be my personal favorite. I think they just did such a fantastic job, to the point that it's not even super obvious that this was Mind Wipe. I mean, that's how much they retooled it. You have, of course, the way the arms become the feet, and the way that these pieces flip around. There are definitely hints that this used to be Mind Wipe, but they did such a good job with this. The color scheme's fantastic. The head sculpt's amazing. The smaller robot's body, you know, looking exactly like you know, the smaller humans' armor looked like in Master Force. The Browning reference, having this fold up a little bit onto the back instead of hanging there off the back. They just did such a good job with this. He just looks absolutely fantastic. He looks like he jumped straight out of the cartoon for me. And like I said, I'm biased. I absolutely admit that I'm biased here, but this is without a doubt my favorite from the 4-pack. Such a good job. I also really like Prime Universe Cliffjumper. I've always liked him. I was always bummed when he died, you know, I guess spoilers technically. It's been quite some time, but if you haven't seen Transformers Prime, I apologize. He does die fairly early on into the series. But I've always liked his design. I thought he was cool. I think they've done a good job. I think this mold from Chase here actually works pretty well as Cliffjumper, and so I think they executed that pretty excellently. So he would definitely be my second favorite from the 4-pack. The Tarantulas, you know, it was a good mold then. It still holds up. It's definitely a deep cut, making him orange like the one time he appeared in an early commercial. But that's neat, I guess. They wanted to use this mold again. They wanted to get some more use out of it. Okay, I think this is only the second, maybe third time we've seen this mold. So, you know, they definitely, I can understand why they want to use it again, because they haven't done this one to death yet. Tarn's fine. There's nothing wrong with Tarn. I don't personally have a huge connection to Tarn. I never read those comics. I'm not super familiar with the character. I guess by this description, he did appear in Cyberverse. I don't remember it very much. But it's a good action figure. I don't personally like the transformation all that much. To me, it's kind of annoying, and it's not that much fun, the way you have to kind of make sure everything lines up and clicks, and half the time I forget halfway through. So just for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of that mold. I'll be honest, I never really was. The original one was fine. I got it again as Bludgeon because I really liked that repaint. I thought it made a good Bludgeon, but I would have been fine with that. One of each and I would have been done. Being forced to get another one here, it's fine. I definitely didn't need it. Now, if you never got the first one, this will be a good stand-in, you know, until if you still want to go buy the package refresh. They are doing the package refresh. I think in the next wave he'll be available again. So, you know, it's up to you. If you never got the original one, you have two options here. If you already had the original one, I don't think you need this one, but that's just my personal preference. It's not a bad color scheme, but I also feel like it's not different enough to warrant this. Like, at least with the 2 bludgeons from this mold, the original ones, that green and orange, the one coming in the Ruckus 2-pack is like teal and yellow. Like, it's a completely different color scheme. If you wanted to pretend that was 2 different characters, you absolutely could. This one is just a slight different color variant of Tarn. They're saying comics versus Cyberverse appearance. I don't even remember him being in Cyberverse, so he obviously must have been super memorable. But hey, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe he was, and I just don't remember. That's also possible. In any case, I just don't think this repaint is different enough that it needed to be included here. But I also feel like they know you want maybe half or 3/4 of the 4-pack, and they're going to cram him in here. I don't know what else I would have wanted. I don't know what else I was hoping for. I don't know. In any case, I still think it's a good 4-pack because at the end of the day, I think it's like $75 for these 4 figures. And if you think about it, deluxes are $25 a piece. So it's almost like Tarn's free. So when you think about it like that, all right, you're getting an extra Tarn. He's not that exciting. He's not that great, but he's free. So just take him. And it's fine. These 2 are definitely my favorites. Warming up to this guy a lot. Tarn is here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Who's your favorite? Did you pick this up? Are you waiting for a sale? I mean, I think at the base price, it's already a pretty good deal, but Target has sales all the time. There's actually one going on right now, 15% off. So if you can find this in store, you get it for 15% off. I think when I actually pre-ordered this, it was one of those like spend 80, get 25 off, or spend 100, get 25 off, something like that. So I think I ended up getting this for like 50 bucks anyway, so that was a killer deal. So that's the nice thing about these Target exclusives. These don't usually sell out crazy fast. They're usually fairly easy to find, so you can probably get it for a good deal. And there's some good stuff in here. I definitely think this is a 4-pack to be on the watch for. And it comes with a free Tarn. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.